So here we are at Doniford. This is the very limited parking that's here at the moment. There's enough for about 4 cars. And you don't want to push it because of this bridge. People won't see your car and they'll smash into the end of it. So that's the only parking around here. There's no parking anywhere else. There's no good parking in the play farm because it gets locked. And this car park is now out of use due to the cliffs in front of it crumbling down. But anyway, you can still walk through this way, and there's a walkway down to the beach, which we'll go and see now. So if you're into fossil hunting and things like that, that's something you can do down here, and there's lots of them. You get all the ammonites and the devil's claws and things like that. We found some good ones down here over the years. The only thing is, you're not meant to obviously break up stuff to find it all. So anyway, this is the path down. It's quite steep, it can be slippy at the bottom at times, but basically we're going to cover over there. So that's Hellwell Bay in the distance, and I like to I've done a video in November, I think it was, worthwhile checking out. I had a nice bass over there, not in Hellwell Bay, it was back a little bit, but I'm going to show you that mark as well. So you can see all of the reef system here, and then we're going to go over by the pipeline and then over. I'm not sure if it can be seen in the distance. There's a bit of sort of like headland that goes out there, known as Doniford Rough, and we'll go and have a look there as well. So this is a nice venue, and it's one of those where you either score really well or you don't score at all. So it can be hit and miss. The summer fishing here is really good, but the winter fishing, yeah, it's all right, but it's not, there's better venues. So first thing we're going to do is walk along to Hellwell Bay, and as always the wind here is strong, but let's take a quick look at the just to show you. You can fish anywhere along here, but you will be pushed back as the tide comes in. Even the smaller tides come right up here because it's so flat here. They come right up to the back wall. So there's lots of these like rock pools, and basically they all slope back towards you on the left hand side, which is great because obviously you get your gear back as you're reeling in. But on the right hand side it's a different story. They face the other way, so if you cast over them you're not getting your lead or your gear back. So as you walk along here you'll find a lot of sort of like small crabs in here, about the size of a penny, a 2p maximum really. You don't find any bigger ones, and you'll find lots of small sort of minnow type fish and little fry knocking about. Over the years I've come down in the winter, I found small codling that you can pick up size of the palm of your hand, but generally speaking these are full of life, so you do get all the predatory species here. Over out here, as I just walk through all of this, you have to be careful, it gets incredibly slippy. There's a lot of clay here that accumulates along with the weed and the wet slate. It does get very, very slippy. So, one moment. I've got my different boots on today that have got a bit more grip. Okay, so just behind this reef line, you've got sand flats. Sometimes they mix in with a bit of clay, but generally speaking, it's a soft sand with like black running through it. But it's strong enough to walk on. It's not dangerous or anything like that. So sometimes if I'm doing a walk back method or something, I come to this little bit of broken reef just here. So I'll just zoom in on it. So it starts there and goes across. There's a small gap basically, and the tide's on its way out, and then like I say, you've got all the sand behind you. I like to sometimes set up just there by the first boulder defence, on the flooding tide, start down here, cast out, then as you walk back, just let your line out. So if you're in for doing like big baits and leaving them out, this can be a really good space for it. You can end up letting out, when the tide's fully out, about 400 yards of line, so make sure you've got plenty. So let's just walk down here just to show you. So now it gets a little bit of sort of like clay as well on top. I'll just show you. It's not mega thick, but if you've got wellies on, you'll be fine. Just not great if you've got like trainers or your flip-flops or something stupid like that. But anyway, flip-flops. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of water running out. You do get freshwater runoff on this venue, unfortunately. So if it's been heavy rains, I tend to avoid it, just because I don't think it's worth fishing. So over the years, occasionally you will find munitions along here. Some of them can be live, in which case call the Coast Guard. There used to be a training area up channel, and obviously during World War II it was heavily mined and stuff like that. And talking of fossils, there we go, there's one big ammonite. Oh, and there's another one, probably about the size of my hand, along with a small one above it. So yeah, there's lots of them out here. You can find them on loose slates as well. But anyway, carrying on, you can see all this fresh water dump coming down here and going out. But during the like super cold of winter, I like to fish here for codling. I find they're scouring along the broken ground out in front here, and then they come into this patch, which is where my baits are. So I normally use my scent as well, the bait spray, and that certainly pulls them in as well. Oh, that's getting quite deep. Okay, let's cut across that. So in there is thick clay, I can see what it is, so we won't bother going in there, but you get a general idea. There's bladder rack, it is attached to the reef system, and you get clay, sometimes it's sand, there's a lot of broken sort of stone, small boulder, cobble type size stuff, but generally speaking it's good fishing here, as long as there hasn't been lots of water. So, oh look, there's some more. That's like, it's absolutely loaded around here with fossils. You can find some good ones up on the actual main beach. So we're just gonna walk back across. It's typical, the wind decides to start howling. Right, so this bit doesn't have a set name, it's just where I choose to fish, and I always tend to do all right. I don't really do bad. Oh, stick a bit of clay. So there you go, you can see the clay there. There are some areas that are thicker than others. When you're on the actual reef system itself, like obviously all the recesses, they fill up with clay. They're pretty bad generally, but then you won't really be wanting to walk through that stuff anyway. Right, let's get back up to the main beach and then I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, so we're back up to the main part of the beach. Fishing in close here can be brilliant for bass. The slip that we came down is the second pile of boulders down there. We're now coming up the beach. Oh, that's another good one, isn't it? Another good ammonite there. Anyway, yeah, we're coming back up the beach. Again, you can be pushed up against the wall here. Don't bother trying to climb it. It's slippy as anything, you ain't got anywhere to cast your rod. So, with that being said, I tend to fish along here. As long as it's not super rough, you should be fine. I fish it at most tides. I've never been on like the biggest of spring tides, but I think you should be all right there. I've been there on some pretty big ones. On tides for fishing, I've been up there on a 10.5 and it's been all right. So I think the biggest I've seen on tides for fishing around here is a 10.7. Not quite sure what that is on the Bristol Channel scale. I'll have to have a look in the book later. But anyway, so if there's a north wind blowing, don't come fishing at this venue. Absolutely no point. You'll get weeded out, and you'll see some of the weed just up here in a second. It'll just totally clog your lines. It's all loose, it moves. Oh, it's not too bad today, but generally speaking, round here can be super weedy, but it does generally stay put unless, like I say, north wind, and then it decides to load up your lines from out there. So the video that I put up, I think it was end of November, came out here on a bit of a bonga session. For those of you that don't know, that's when I go hunting for bass and conger. Bit of a bonga. Me and Danny like to do that, so just because they both give you a bit of a scrap. Anyway, like I was saying, video back in November on the playlist. I had a corking little bass here. I can't remember how far out it was. It was only like 20 or 30 yards, wasn't far. Just beyond all this thick weed, and sat in one of these reefy channels out here. So what you do is you come up this last groin. It's a bit broken. Oh, sorry, didn't notice the sun. Okay, so it's broken and it's quite steep. So if your mobility's not that good, I wouldn't come up here. There we go, sun's out of view now. But anyway, it gives way to a nice little platform up the top there, and it's quite comfortable for 4 anglers. And you're casting out over all of this beautiful broken ground that's reefy. I tend to chuck one in close here on the biggest tides, on the edge of the stone and the sand. Nearly always score at least a schoolie there, but I don't tend to chuck one this side because it's always weed there. It just comes around the groin, just all settles there, and you end up in all sorts of nightmares. So anyway, over in the distance, that's Hellwell Point. There's some steps down there. If you park in Watchet Town Football Club car park, where we done the Watchet Harbour and Upside Down Bridge, if you watched that, it's that car park at the beginning. But instead of going left to where we went, you go to the right, and there's a track that takes you along pretty much the edge of the cliff there, and it brings you to the steps that come down the side of the cliff there. You can fish off the steps. It's a one person thing, you can't get any more there. Or there is a very small sort of like beach next to the steps that you can fish on smaller tides, but you will be cut off. Don't fish it in rough weather, and I highly advise, if you're gonna want to do that, you get hold of one of the local guides, which is myself, Martin Wood, it's Craig Butler in Watchet, or Andy Bowra. So we all know the more dangerous and sort of marks that will cut you off here. So anyway, on the high tides, the water comes right in here, it'll come up, it'll leave you with no room, so the platform is needed. I tend to fish the platform regardless. It just keeps you up, gives you a bit more angle on the fish when you're pulling in anything of size. You can get some nice congers along here, and yeah, so you get all sorts around here. I've had thornback here, you get all your whiting, your pout, your dogs, your bass, you get hounds in the summer too, but the better hound mark at Doniford is over the other side on Doniford Rough, which is right over in the distance at the moment. But we're heading back that way. We're gonna go see the pipeline, and I'll turn this back on once I get back to the steps where we came down. So here we are, back at the steps and walking along the sand towards the pipeline. And so it take a few minutes to get out there, but it's a nice easy walk on not too soft a sand. You can fish out in front here, But like I say, the reef faces the other way. You'll need rotten bottoms, and you'll probably lose a lead every single time, and that's if your hooks don't hook up to it. They're pretty jagged, they're pretty rough, and they're absolutely loaded with weed, so you're bound to hook up or snag up. So for that reason, it's not really worth fishing the sand bit in front. So the next one is low tide. Those up there are high tide, although you can fish sort of midway up to high tide if you don't mind walking back with your rods. So these are low tide venues, and you get fishing a bit further out onto the reef system. It's best on the neap tides. The springs, there's just not enough water. You get anything decent on, whether you get it in or not is another thing. It just drags along the bottom. You can snag up quite easy. But I find the neap tides generally hold more fish in close anyway. So with that, neap tides are better. Anyway, during the summer, it's cracking hound fishing down here. If you fish the Doniford Rough, which is right of the pipe, you fish it down to low. Like I normally fish it an hour down, and I fish it 2.5 hours back, and then you want to come straight back up, especially if there's been a lot of heavy rain. There's a river that you have to cross. It's only sort of ankle deep normally, but it can be a lot more, and it can cut you off, so not advisable. You'll be scrambling up slippery rocks into the holiday park, and whether you get all your gear up there's another thing. But anyway, yeah, cracking hound fishing off there. Unlucky if you come out without a double figure, although I didn't fish it last year, think about it. Done all my hound fishing at Bossington and Whitemark, but generally speaking it produces every single year. It's really good. Again, it's good for conger, it's good for thornback. I've had other rays off here as well, bass. In the winter you can get codling, but I don't generally fish Doniford Rough just because it's loaded with clay, loaded with weed. It's slippery as you like, and yeah, I don't want to be going over. It's a bit of a nightmare. It's not worth that much to me. I'd rather fish the main beach. If they're there, it's only a flick of the tail here. So anyway, here we are. You got the pipeline in the distance here. It runs all the way out. Don't ask me what it's for, I don't know. But it's all sort of broken, mixed ground here. There's a lot of sort of cobblestone. You find a lot of brick, old buildings, concrete, stuff like this out here. So the reef gives way just at the end here, and you get all this broken ground. The reef picks up again as we walk down, but I'm going to take you up just so you can see the river that will cut you off. So the river here moves as well, that's the other thing. At present, it looks like it's running to the right of the pipe. So if you're fishing the left of the pipe, you should be all right. But again, this puts a load of freshwater dump out there, and I don't like fishing by it, if I'm honest. I know lots of people fish here for the bass. It's a known sort of bass spot. But so there we go. It's only shallow at the moment, but as soon as the rain starts and it starts running off the hills behind, that all of a sudden isn't so placid and calm. Okay. So before we go down the pipeline, I'll just show you Doniford Rough on the other side. So this runs all the way up. You won't be getting through it up there, it's even deeper. As you can see, it's got a bit of movement on it, and you want good wellies to go through there, which I don't have today. But on the other side, it's exactly the same as the reef ground back over to the left towards Hellwell Bay, and they're a lot more shallow, the ridges. So, but like I say, it's loaded with clay over there, clay, weed, large rock pools. But go right out, you want to be going or what's that, must be about 200 meters, 250 meters out, and then you'll fish off the point and you fish into deeper water and the reef system, which is pretty productive in the summer months. Winter months, I don't know. I don't think I've ever really seen anyone fish it during the winter. Not to say they don't, but it's not a place I generally do it. You're very exposed out there. You'll have all the elements hitting you. So just to give you some context to where we are, in the distance over there you've got Watchet Lighthouse with the harbour, and then we're over here. So like I was saying, sometimes this river, it branches off and it goes underneath this pipeline to the right of it, in which case if you're fishing the left of it you won't be cut off. But if it's going to the left of the pipe like it is now, you will be cut off. Sometimes it cuts across quicker, so it comes a lot more sort of direct across you, but it'll flood you from behind and you won't see it. The sea comes in from the left there, over that shallow bit of reef ground, and while you're fishing down there it sneaks in behind you and fills up. So don't think one last cast. My advice would be 1 hour down, 2 back, pack up, come back above it. If you want to fish the flooding tide, fish it when you're near the top of the beach. So there's a lot of reef marks around here that will flood from behind, especially sort of Lilstock and Kilve. So if you're not from around here and you don't know the marks, be extremely careful. This one you don't even see flooding really. It's like Kilve. You won't see it flooding behind you. Where the ground sort of recesses, it looks all right when you're looking at it from down here, but it's really not that friendly at all. So okay, there's quite a lot of runoff at the moment still, although you should have seen this a few days ago, which is why I've decided to do this one a little bit later this week. It's calmed down a little, but it's still going for it. So anyway, this is the sort of ground that you're going to be fishing on. It's just broken boulder, stone, brick. You find the odd blocks of like concrete and stuff. So there's obviously a sort of old coastal buildings or something that have eroded into it or come down the river, whatever. Generally speaking, I tend to fish just with heavier lines, so I'll do an 80-pound rig body and I have at least 60 pounds as a hook snood. When you're walking down here, you quite often find something where people haven't realised, and you'll find broken mainline stuff. Mainline here will get trapped, so keep your rod high. You get line pinch here, quite bad, just because it's so flat. But I always use mono when I come here. I don't use braid here. Learn the hard way when you're younger. So anyway, this is the reef system that comes back. Like I say, now we're here, it looks like you can see all the way back, but you can't, and it floods in behind that, and before you know it, it's too late. You quite often find some leads down there, so always good to replenish your tackle box. So the river's made a right old mess of the beach at the moment. It's coming right out on a big wide mouth. It normally comes out into sort of like one dedicated channel, but we've obviously had that much water, it's just blowing everything out. We'll just cut through here. I'll take you down to the sea. So it hasn't got too much further to go out. Let's just check the time. What is it? Okay, so it's like 15 minutes till low tide today. So what you see is what you get pretty much. You're not going to see any more. This broken ground goes right out, gives way to more reef. On the upside, if you like photo opportunities, there's plenty of rock pools to keep your catches in. One of those that like to show 2 or 3 hounds at the same time. Okay, so if I zoom in on the tide line, it's super muddy around here. You want big stinking baits. Don't worry about the presentation. They're not going to see anything around here. The clay is like really thick. So, okay, so over there in the distance on the headland, coming out the dark bit, that is where you want to go fishing for hounds. So follow it out to the point, go just a little bit past and cast out, and you won't be disappointed. It's a great summer mark, this. But like I say, if it's super windy, I wouldn't bother coming out here. You are exposed to absolutely everything, as you can probably hear on the microphone. It's not even that windy today, but out here it's always amplified. So, main things to note here is rig heavy, and I tend to use like mustard uptide Vikings, so they'll bend out if they do snag the reef system, get all your stuff back. So rig heavy, it does flood behind you here, be careful. I'd hate to see someone get caught a cropper, and it can be slippy as buggery with some thick clay bits. I'm just trying to see if I can find one. So at the moment it's not too bad here, it's all filled with sand and gravel, but generally speaking these reef bits here, oh there you go, fills up with clay like that, and you'll go down well past your ankle. I'd say learnt that one in the past. But anyway, this is Doniford. So Doniford Rough over there to the right of the pipe, 1 hour down, 2 hours back, come back, the river will cut you off. Out in front here, the broken line on the left of the pipe, broken ground on the left of the pipe, again 1 hour down, 2 hours back. Over on the far side over there, Hellwell Bay, you can fish mid tide up, but it's on the steps and that small beach. Again, not advisable if you're new, get somebody to go with you. Like, the beach can be covered on the larger tides, it needs small tides for that. And then over where I had the bass in the November video, that was sort of it was over £5. Can't remember how much it was now, 5.1, 5.2 I think, something like that. Over there by the groins. And then the main beach, which you want to fish sort of 2 hours up to high, and you'll get about 1 back because it just zips out where it's so flat. So this is Doniford. Hope you enjoyed it. Any venues you do want covered that I haven't done yet, I'm doing them every week. Please leave a comment, let me know where you'd like filmed. If I know it, I'll get on it. We've got Devon and Cornwall coming soon as well. I've just got a few more to do on the Bristol channel. And yeah, if you find yourself keep coming back, please give us a like and a subscribe. Like the videos you want, I'll do more of them. Everybody liking what they like gives me an indication of what's wanted. Anything that's not working, I'll get rid of. Anything that is working, I'll keep on doing. So with that, thanks for watching. Catch you next week.